It's 1844, an election year.
James Polk runs for president and says that the United States is going to annex Texas, and he wins.
On December 29, 1845, President Polk formally welcomes a new slave state into the Union, Texas, deepening the nation's growing divide over slavery. But with this addition, Polk sees yet another opportunity for U.S. expansion.
He quickly sends a large contingent of American soldiers down to the U.S.-Mexico border with the intention of provoking a clash with Mexican soldiers. And lo and behold, that is precisely what happens. And that becomes the pretext for U.S. declaring war in Mexico.
The Mexican War can only be described as a war of naked imperial expansion and land grab. It has no justification of any sort. There's a lot of brutality in it. 2 years later, the Mexican War ends in 1848, and the United States gains an enormous new territory, out of which a number of states will be carved, principally California, Arizona, New Mexico, Utah, and part of Colorado.
Polk's victory over Mexico gives the U.S. 1.2 million square miles of new land, an instant 66% increase to its territory that extends its boundary to the Pacific coast. The press coins a phrase, manifest destiny. To ensure the land is open for American settlement, Congress passes the Indian Appropriations Act in 1851, creating the reservation system. 2 decades earlier, President Andrew Jackson signed the Indian Removal Act, which forced Native Americans in the East off their homelands and onto unfamiliar territory in the West.
Jackson administration is determined to remove Native Americans from the Southeast, from Georgia and that wider region, because that's rich, fertile land that is perfect for growing cotton.
Beginning in 1830, Native nations in the Southeast are expelled from their land. The Trail of Tears saw an estimated 100,000 Native Americans removed from their homelands. Along their journey west, 15,000 would die from disease, hunger, heat, and cold, including 4,000 Cherokee. By the early 1870s, many of the Plains Indians, including the Sioux in the north and the Apache in the south, are being moved onto reservations by the military. In 1874, President Ulysses S. Grant sends troops to the Texas Panhandle, determined to ensure the security of white settlers by forcing every last Comanche onto the reservation. The conflict will come to be known as the Red River War. Unable to defeat their enemy in battle, the Army instead cuts off their food supply.
The U.S. adopts an official policy of exterminating the buffalo herds that the Plains tribes live on.
The bison population dropped to about 1,000. It's a decline of 99.99996%. The bison are virtually gone.
By 1875, the Comanches, who once numbered 40,000, are down to 1,500. On June 2nd of 1875, Quanah and his band surrender at the Fort Sill Reservation, marking the end of the Red River War and the last day of the free Comanche. The 1,500 Comanche left with Quanah are now forced to live on just 4,600 square miles of reservation land.